this week, we're going to be discovering our wise voice. So in this meditation, we will explore how knowing our values and staying true to them contributes to our ability to cultivate a wise and compassionate inner voice. Be bold enough to use your voice, brave enough to listen to your heart, and strong enough to live the life you've always imagined. And that was a quote by someone who didn't want to share their name. So that's an anonymous quote, but I love it. So last week we talked about how to cultivate a relationship with ourselves that allows us to become our own best friend. And this week we're going to take it a step further and explore how to develop that wise, discerning inner voice to become our own best guide in life, right? We are our own best teachers. We have everything that we need within us. And in order to cultivate this wise and discerning inner voice, we really need to know ourselves. Who am I? And to know ourselves, we need to identify our core values. What's important to you? At the end of the day, we are our core values. Everything changes in life, but our values are the compass that guide our lives. So we need to know what we stand for, to trust our own wisdom and to develop our wise, discerning inner voice so that we can rely on it for guidance, right? And then in order to develop this wise voice, we need to be living in accordance with our core values. And so we need to know what we most value and what our deepest desires are. Those are our core values. And they differ for all of us, right? What is important to you may not be important to the next person. But, certainly we share many of them. And, what are yours? Compassion, honesty, sense of humor, family, friends, gratitude, enjoyment, generosity, loyalty, courage, justice, equality. So something else to think about or consider when we're talking about values is to make the distinction between needs and values, because we need both for our well-being. So human needs are generally associated with physical and emotional survival, right? Like the need for health, safety, connection, food, and shelter. And then core values, well, they really have more to do with meaning, such as the importance of friendship, personal growth, or our own creativity. And so, of course, needs and values overlap. For example, a life without meaning is detrimental to our well-being. So meaning is also necessary for survival. And I want to read a quote by McGee, Germer, and Neff from a 2017 research paper. Knowing our needs and values supports our ability to respond with compassion in challenging times, regardless whether we're struggling to survive or searching for happiness. So really all across the board, we need those values and needs. So we're going to be moving into our meditation shortly, but I just also wanted to highlight that, when our values and actions aren't aligned, that also plays a role in how much we suffer or struggle in life. For example, if I value outdoor recreation, then not receiving a promotion that would have demanded longer hours at the office, well, that might be a blessing. But on the other hand, if I need more money to support my family, being passed over for a promotion could be devastating. Also, if I value spending time with friends, then I'll be disappointed when a friend cancels a dinner engagement. But if I really value time for reading and reflection, then the cancellation might become an unexpected gift, right? So what's important to one isn't necessarily as important to another. So finding out what's really meaningful to us is really key. And I just wanted to acknowledge that parts of this evening's meditation have been adapted from the self-compassion work by Dr. Christopher Germer and Dr. Kristen Neff. So now we will be moving into our formal portion of the meditation. So finding a comfortable seat for yourself, whatever that means, making any kind of an adjustment, maybe even just taking a little bit of a stretch or rolling your neck a little bit or shrugging the shoulders up to the ears and releasing them, and maybe noticing that there is a little bit of tension. So perhaps inviting a little softening. And so finding a posture that is comfortable yet supportive. And now I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or simply soften your gaze, whatever feels most comfortable. And so now just settling into your seat and allowing a sense of arrival. Arriving into the space that you're in, feeling the air around you. Inviting a sense of arrival in the chair that you're sitting in. So knowing that you're sitting here and knowing that you're sitting here. And then inviting a sense of arrival into your own body. Coming home to your body. Maybe feeling the feet on the floor, or the contact of your sits bones in the chair. Or maybe even feeling your hands in your lap. And just using those various contact points as a way of further grounding into the body and arriving in this moment. This one moment right here, right now. And now, as you're ready, I invite you to turn your attention towards the breath. So allowing your awareness to come to rest gently on the process of breathing. So not needing to change the breath in any way, but just following along the rhythm of your own breath cycle. Being with your breath as you would a good friend, a trusted companion. Following one breath in, one breath out. Another breath in, and another breath out. Staying very close to each breath cycle, maybe as you're following the inhale to the top where it reaches and turns into an exhale, and then following it all the way to the end, Maybe noticing how it just naturally turns into the next breath. And as the mind wanders, as it surely will if it hasn't already, and just bringing it back to the task at hand, which is following along with the breath. And now I'm going to invite you, if it feels comfortable for you, to place a hand over the heart or on the chest, or one hand on the chest and one on the belly, wherever feels appropriate for you. Just feeling the warmth of your own caring touch. Maybe even leaning into the warmth, feeling your own support, knowing you yourself can support yourself. I'm here for you. That wise inner voice will come from this part of you that supports you. And now I'm going to invite you to take a moment to reflect on the following. Imagine that you are in your elderly years. You're sitting in a lovely garden as you contemplate your life. Looking back to the time between now and then, you feel a deep sense of satisfaction, of joy, and contentment. Even though life hasn't always been easy, you've managed to stay true to yourself to the very best of your ability. Which core values are represented in that life? So, looking back, were you adventurous, compassionate, loyal, honest, hardworking, seeking fairness and justice? So just taking a moment to reflect on what are the core values that have come up right now as you imagine yourself in your elderly years looking back. And many may have arisen, but perhaps just settling on one or two that rose to the top. So just holding those core values in your awareness. What is most meaningful to you that would allow you to look back on a life well lived. And now, calling to mind activities that make you feel, or actions that you take that make you feel that you are living in accordance with these core values. Just taking a moment to reflect. What am I doing that support these core values? What am I doing in my daily life, small or large, actions that support these core values? So perhaps an example would be if it's compassion, it's one of your top core values, compassion for your fellow man. You've made it a point to help those less fortunate by volunteering at a homeless shelter, or working in a soup kitchen, or donating food to the local food drive. So just thinking about the ways that you are living in accordance with your core values that are most meaningful to you. And now, please call to mind, just reflecting on this question. Are there any ways in which you are not living in accordance with your core values, or ways in which your life seems out of balance with your values? As an example, perhaps you aren't aligned with a personal value, such as you're too busy with work or other commitments to spend time, quiet time in nature, even though nature is a great source of peace, tranquility, and rejuvenation in your life. So just taking a moment to reflect on how, or even just if, there is some way that you're not in accordance with those values. And so, as you've been thinking about that, also thinking about, we all have obstacles that prevent us from living in accordance with our core values. Some might be external, like not having enough time or money, or having other obligations like taking care of children or elderly parents. And so now just taking a moment to reflect on this and making space for whatever arises. Are there things getting in the way that are just beyond your control? Perhaps offering yourself some compassion for these obstacles doesn't mean your core values are not important to you. So offering yourself some compassion if there are things getting in the way. And then there may also be some internal obstacles getting in the way, right? For instance, are you afraid of failure? Do you doubt your own abilities? Or is your inner critic getting in the way? Or maybe you have some internalized stereotype about your identity from childhood conditioning. So just taking a moment to reflect on any internal obstacles that might be getting in the way of you living in accordance with your core values. And if so, perhaps offering yourself some compassion here as well. And if the problem is simply that you are imperfect, as all human beings are, can you offer yourself some self compassion and forgive yourself for those imperfections? And now, perhaps considering whether self compassion can help you find your wise inner voice and live your authentic life in accordance with your values and your deepest desires. So perhaps being more accepting of yourself and calling on that softer yin self compassion to give you the ability to let go of things that aren't serving you and give you greater freedom from a harsh inner critic, to allow you to be in alignment with core values that are important to you. Or maybe there's a way that the yang self compassion of action can make you feel safe enough and confident enough to motivate yourself to take new actions, risk failure, and encourage a change. But just taking a moment to reflect on whether or not that may serve you to bring this yin and yang self compassion, making space for whatever arises in this moment. When we can hold these questions, we are cultivating our wise, kind, and compassionate inner voice. The answers that arise from these kinds of questions are what guide us to live in accordance with our core values. So just take a moment to be with whatever has come up for you and allow yourself to take in the words and the images, phrases, impressions of your wisest self. Just taking another moment to perhaps reflect on whether you did discover any core values and did any one in particular rise to the top. Could you be curious about and name any of the external or internal obstacles that you identified that may be preventing you from living in accordance with what is most valued in your life? And were you able to bring some compassion to whatever arose? And could you forgive yourself for any imperfections, perceived or otherwise? And so now just releasing the practice and resting in your own experience just as you are. And I'm going to end with a poem by Mathur Ramprasad, Values and Virtues. Values and virtues are not just words to play with, code of conduct for humans to follow with every breath. Exceptions are none to circumvent the essence of truth, as the rewards are monumental with feelings of mirth. Values and virtues are the pillars of life's bridge, integrated with integrity, making a lifelong pledge. Adding on sincerity and validity for colorful fledge, raising to the core of honesty for a perpetual wedge. Values and virtues are the mortars of life's foundation, forever standing to the challenges coming from all direction, never to sway from its center in any adverse condition, standing tall for the world with honor for the volition. So as you're ready, just gently opening your eyes, wiggling fingers and toes, maybe taking a stretch, and just reorienting yourself to the screen in front of you. And so first of all, thank you so much, everyone, for your practice. And then I'm going to leave you with the invitation for the week. I'm going to invite you to spend some time this week reflecting on your core values and what they are. Maybe revisiting some of the ways in which you are and aren't living in accordance with your values. And then finally, reflecting on the answers your wise, kind, and compassionate self has revealed to you. Maybe exploring it further with some journaling as a way of living in alignment with your values and having a more authentic life that contributes to greater well-being. So I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful evening, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye, everyone.